Recording in progress.
It is 10:05 a.m. and I'm calling the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Here.
Here. Okay, thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or a moment of silence. President Rentila, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now it is time for public comment for items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments?
No, we have not. If anyone wishes to speak on items not on the agenda, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, thank you. Deputy General Manager Michael Savannah, please lead us to the remainder of the agenda.
Item 1 on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the March 13th, 2025 Infrastructure Operation and Environment Committee special meeting. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to comment on item 1, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to move the item.
And I will second. Next item, please.
Item number 2 is to receive an update of the Force Main Assessment Project. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 2, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
So today, we'll receive a update on our Force Main Assessment project.
Okay.
I have our Capital Portfolio Manager, Angela Andrews, and Project Manager, Will Silver, here to give us an update on this project.
Hello, Angela Andrews. I'm Capital Portfolio Manager in the Capital Projects Division, and I have the pleasure of having Will Silver, who is our project manager, who has been working on the Force Main assessment, including reviewing Tower Hill's Force Main. So I'll take it away, Will.
All right.
Thanks so much,
Great.
Angela.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to present on our Force Main assessment update. Next slide, please. Oh, got the clicker. All right. Brief agenda, overview, background, mitigation measures, cost and time impacts, and our conclusion here. We're also going to have a little bit about some challenges. Overview of our Force Main assessment program. We independently created a Force Main program. We agreed to Force Main assessments for, we agreed to do this with the state, and we completed that initial assessment. But we have some current assessments that go beyond what the state has required us to do. Currently, we're doing an additional assessment of our longest Force Main, which carries the most wastewater from hard-to-reach areas that impact several neighborhoods. And we've done this in order to reduce potential risks. And partially why we're doing this is that this assessment's going to give us information for assessing priorities in the future. So of that previous assessment, 13 active Force Mains were assessed. From that, we've recently replaced Hilltop Green and Lakeside, and under construction currently, we have Carriage Hills. The assessment also triggered us to design La Honda, and we're in planning for Pinole Center and Fitzgerald. The current assessment that we're working on for Terra Hills starts up there at the very top of the slide at our Terra Hills lift station and ends down there at the pink dot at the discharge manhole. Looks like there's a little elevation slide. Oh, there we go. If you guys are not familiar with this, this is the profile of the Terra Hills force main. It goes up to the top of Rachel Road and down to Atlas and up and down, and makes it very challenging for sending a robot through. So the challenges are isolating the 18-inch force main from the 12-inch bypass system. So sorry, I'll just go back real briefly. On this upper section, there's actually a parallel pipeline that was installed in 2008 along some sections, and that's what we're talking about.
Will.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Before you go on to the challenges, can you talk a little bit about what the actual assessment looks like and putting the robot in, just really briefly, so that when you talk about the challenges, they make sense?
Yeah. So starting up at the Terra Hills lift station, we have something that's going in that's called a launch barrel, and it's a apparatus that we need to install in the pipeline to get the robot in. The robot's like 12 feet long. It's got these big rings with magnets on it, and it has to be propelled with wastewater through the force main, and so it doesn't move through the force main on its own volition. It has to be pushed through gently, and if it goes too fast, it doesn't collect the data it needs, and if it goes too slow, it can get stuck. So it has to be perfectly propelled, and because there's some parallel force mains that have some connections, we don't want the water to divert into those and stop pushing the robot through the force main. The other challenge is that the robot has to daylight at some point, and that's been the main challenge, is getting it, navigating it all the way through the system to where it can pop out the other end. Michael, do you think that? Okay. Basically isolating the 18-inch force main from that 12-inch bypass system I talked about. There's the limited ability to control the tool velocity, meaning that the robot, just as it goes downhill, it just kind of picks up momentum and it just keeps going super fast, and we don't have the ability to control it. So the outcomes are unknown and have a high level of risk, particularly with water storage and pumping. Aging infrastructure has some additional challenges, and limited funding to pull off this assessment. So what are we doing to deal with those challenges? We are proposing to install a receiver structure at the halfway point. So instead of daylighting at the very end, we're gonna take 2 bites of this, and we're gonna do the full length in a couple different phases. So that means we're gonna put a receiver structure in the middle. On the lower section, instead of sending the robot through, we're gonna perform some other types of assessments. It could be electromagnetic testing. It could be some type of magnetic or sonic testing for targeted locations on the lowermost section of the force main, probably 12 different individual spots. We're going to restore functionality to the 12-inch bypass pipeline and utilize it to reduce costs and complexity associated with tanks pumping in multiple locations. And then, like I said, we're going to split the project into 3 phases. So spot testing and 12-inch bypass, those are going to be 1 phase. We're going to put in that receiver structure that I talked about, and then the final phase is that we're going to do tool run. So in comparison, these mitigation measures that we talked about, there's a picture of the receiver structure down there, and that's going to be installed at about the halfway marker. So on the left slide, there's a green dot at the top of the slide there, and that separates the top and the bottom. So on the right, the green is what we're going to send the robot through, and on the left is the areas that we're going to do some alternative type of thickness testing on the pipe. Total project budget, $2.5 million, and that was for the complete assessment that we've already completed. We've spent 1.272 and a half there, and we have currently, for this year, we have $650,000 left to spend for fiscal year '25. So the assessment, this phase of the assessment started in 2021 with multiple force mains have been assessed. However, Terra Hills has been the most complicated to assess. Based on what we know today, the project is expected to be completed by late 2026. All right, friends, do we have any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. President Rentila, questions, comments?
Sure, I've got questions. I was wondering, the receiver structure and the materials, what are the materials made out of, and what's the lifespan of the materials? No warranty?
Yeah, so the receiver structure is probably going to be a temporary structure that we install just to get the robot out. So its materials, we might actually be able to rent the structure. Probably, though, will be ductile iron or some type of...
Composite?
Yeah, most of these fittings are going to be made of some type of metal structure. And that's just because this is a temporary structure that'll be taken down. Yeah, I hope that hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, if it's temporary, then we don't have to worry about the lifespan.
Yeah, exactly. The any fittings that that will be permanent will be sort of spec'd for the next 100 years.
So a lot of the piping, is it coupled together or welded together? Or?
No, most of the piping that we're assessing is actually bell and spigot. That's actually the ductile iron sections.
Butted together?
Yeah, just butted together. But it was installed in 1951, and what we found from previous assessment, and there's lots of like sort of additional unknown fittings and appurtenances, and so this, as the robot travels through, it will literally document every single fitting that's on our pipeline.
Yeah.
And it'll also detect like pitting in the pipes or cracks or other failure points.
That maps everything out.
From that, we'll have like a map that we kind of know where all the things are buried.
Nice, thank you. No more
Which is a significant improvement over what we currently have. A number of the challenges that we're running into are based on lack of information. We went into this, if you guys recall, we developed a force main assessment program because we had a number of failures in our force mains. We decided to go back and assess our force mains. We did a quick assessment of all of our force mains and decided to go back and do more work on this one. And a big challenge that we're having is we don't have the as-builts. We don't have the information. So what Will's team is finding is there's all of these valves and structures and bypasses that we weren't aware of. So when we're done, there's a significant amount of information that'll come from this assessment that'll go into our GIS database, that'll go into our Laserfish, so that we'll have this data so that later on we can use it should we need to.
Yeah, we, in our trades, we call that as-found readings. And so you compare where you were to where you are. And I was just interested in finding out whether the piping's butted together because, you know, different elevations and landslides and what have you. Those butts have generally open up a little bit, and then you have roots going in there and what have you.
Yeah, so this pipe is mostly under pressure, and yes, there are several different methods that have been used to connect the pipe along the way. Two final points. Yeah, one of the other things is that some of this information will be used in City Works later, another one of our programs for doing maintenance. And then finally, this receiver structure is going to have a choke valve on it, which basically allows us to pressurize the system, and as we let air out of the balloon, we'll be able to have much more control of the robot as it travels through, whereas previously it was just an open end and we were just kind of pushing it through. So this is essentially our thumb on the end of the hose, allowing us to control the flow coming out. All right, thanks, everybody.
Okay. Anything further for this subject? Okay, next item, please.
Thanks, Will. The next item, item number 3, is to receive an update on the project prioritization. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone has any comments on item 3, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you. So we have Angela Andrews, our capital portfolio manager, who's going to give us an update on our project prioritization system, our process. We've received a number of inquiries over the last, I would say, year or so around how do we prioritize projects. And Angela's going to update us on that. We're currently going through our project prioritization internally, so it's a perfect time to have a conversation about it.
Great.
Hello, Angela Andrews, Capital Portfolio Manager.
Welcome back.
Thank you. From the Capital Projects Division, if you didn't know. All right. All right. So we are going to talk about project prioritization. And just do a brief intro, talk about the process, go over next steps, and then go over any questions you may have. So the capital improvement plan includes 3 key things: staffing resources, prioritization outcome, and then available funding. So right now, we do have staffing already in place, but prioritization outcome is what we're working on right now. When we do the prioritization, it will determine what staffing resources will be needed in the future for future projects, as well as the next fiscal year. And then we'll use that prioritization and review with the finance team what available funding is available for the fiscal year, and then we'll determine which projects we'll be moving forward with for the fiscal year, and then prioritize in future years. The prioritization process includes identifying and reviewing new projects. We review a business case, so the business case gives the justification of how this benefits the district and the organization. For this project, we will also confirm if it's already in the plan. Sometimes there's projects that are mentioned and it actually could be included in the plan. For example, there might be a piece of the Clean and Green project that might cover some of the scope of work that this new project could actually be reviewed. And so we'll say, oh, we actually have that in the Clean and Green project. For example, odor control, we're reviewing a lot of things in the Clean and Green project is doing a lot of improvements in the headwork, so that actually might address some of the odor control issues. So that would be an example of us looking at new projects and confirming if it's in the plan. We also confirm if the capital project, if the project is actually a capital project or a maintenance project. And the working group is actually looking at some of the rules we'll be reviewing in terms of this is how we're going to treat maintenance projects versus a capital project. Is this a project that the maintenance team can actually take on versus us, capital projects, managing a new project? So we are working on that process now. And then once we look at all the projects, we'll rank the new projects against the existing capital plan, and then we'll submit for the executive leadership team for approval. And part of project identification, we have a list of things that we will review, including the 10-year infrastructure improvement plan, looking at staff and EOT recommendations. So throughout the year, we would hear, oh, we should work on this project. This is something we should consider. This would be the time that we would prioritize those list of projects. We look at studies and assessments. So a lot of that comes out of planning and support services. We also confirm what are the regulatory requirements. Are these projects going to help with meeting those requirements? Emergent projects have been added to the capital plan. For example, Carriage Hills, we did a force main assessment. We had an emergency with Carriage Hills. We had to add Carriage Hills force main as a project on our capital plan. Climate Action Plan also is reviewed, and we also look at the I&I study. So we look at the infiltration and inflow study to determine how do we prioritize gravity sewer projects in the plan. So for prioritization considerations, we look at a few key things. We look at whether this project is essential, if this project is already in progress, if it's an emergent project, if it became something that's urgent. We look at if there's any compliance issues that we would need to address. So if it's been identified from a group that has identified us needing to do more pipe replacement, or if we need to meet permitting requirements. We also look at whether this project has a high impact on an organization. So if it's something that's going to jeopardize our permit, then we want to address it. We also look at the risk to the organization. Does this have a high criticality of failure? We should try to address it. And then we also look at low risk versus high risk, and then moderate risk, or is it no risk to the organization? Is this something that can be put on hold? And then, so once we have all these considerations, we will actually send a survey to the working group, and the working group includes every department in the organization, so finance, plant staff, CSO staff, capital projects, planning and support services. We're all part of this working group to prioritize this list. But again, all these considerations are brought by all the departments regarding projects. This working group, we're ensuring that by having a cross-departmental working group, we're making sure that the whole organization is part of the process. We also are submitting this recommendation for approval to ELT. So this is something that is also vetted by our executive leadership team. It was very important for them to have buy-in to make sure the process is successful, but also make sure that we're going in the right direction. And then we recommend this list of projects for maintenance versus capital projects. It also gives a framework of what the capital plan is versus what the maintenance and operations budget will be, so we can manage projects. So again, executive leadership, buy-in, ensures buy-in for the prioritization, recommends to you all, the board of directors, for approval, and confirming the process that we will be bringing in terms of maintenance versus capital projects. And you, board of directors, will be reviewing this process today, as you are doing now, but also you will be reviewing the capital plan once we have that available. We are planning to come to the board to present the capital plan at the same time as our budget, and that will be the chance for you to give approval and recommendations for our capital plan.
Any ideas when that's happening?
Right now, we're targeting end of June. So that's our target. And that's the end of the presentation. Somehow it went backwards. I don't know why. But that is the end of the presentation. If you have any questions. Oh, I will say one thing is the other reason why, I failed to mention this earlier, the other reason why it's important to have the capital plan is so we can reduce the amount of emergency. So if we prioritize projects, we're looking at projects ahead of time. We're hoping that us addressing projects in a prioritized list will help reduce some of the emergencies that we're seeing.
Okay, thank you. Michael, anything further to add before I ask President Rentila for questions?
Angela?
Oh, that's right.
That's fine. Just wanted to reiterate here that this is a collaborative process across the organization. This is normally presented to IOE and to the board out of IMP and through our capital division, but those different balls up there actually really represent the organization, right? There's the prioritization outcome, which is a process that's inclusive of the entire organization. There's a staffing resources that a lot of times it's capital project staff working in conjunction with HR, and then you have your accounting function at the bottom where they're telling us how much money is actually available, and what comes of that is the plan that you guys receive. So it's a real collaborative and vetted plan when it gets to you all.
Okay, great, thank you. President Rentila, questions, comments?
Actually, I did have another slide.
Okay.
To tell
Go
you
right ahead
that
and
it's
finish.
coming in June. So sorry about that. A little thrown off by the double slide there. But this is the actual roadmap of what is happening. So we already had our intro to the working group. Working group submits new projects. We'll send a survey. We'll create a new CIP plan. They'll submit rankings, and we'll do 3 additional working groups to review the plan and make sure we have everything, and then we'll be reporting to you all.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
now it's it.
Yeah, I was just curious between the two presentations. It sounds like there's a tremendous amount of data that's being inputted, and I was wondering if you could kind of talk about how the data is being inputted and how priorities are triggered.
Yes, so for the force main assessment, we're focusing on what is needed for the Tower Hills force main, but we've already completed the force main program assessment in total. I think there was a few that didn't need to be assessed because they were recently replaced, but that actually informs our plan. So we end up giving you a list of all of the projects that have been assessed. The force main program had, and the plan is actually one of our higher priority programs. So that has been, that data has been included to rank those actual force mains. So once the assessment is done, then we look at the criticality of failure of those force mains, and then we rank them using that survey process. But also our planning and support services and CSO, they have also captured a lot of data from the I&I study and the force main assessment to rank the actual sewer replacements, and then that information is put into the capital plan as well. And then we rank all those projects against other projects, including facilities, lift station projects, and let's see, plant process. So we rank all those projects with that lens, and that's one of the reasons why we have a collaborative working group, because plant staff is obviously going to advocate for, plant projects, and CSO is going to advocate for sewer projects. But if we come together as a group, we're looking at which project should be ranked in terms of risk to the whole organization. And so there are some projects that are ranked higher than others, no matter what. They're looking at it from a lens beyond just what the program is, but what is going to actually need to be addressed sooner rather than later. And that data is also, information is also included in making sure our projects have files, and making sure those the information is in our project files. We do a handoff with planning and support services, and our project managers keep track of that data as well. And then once the project is completed, for example, if a sewer has been replaced, force main has been replaced, the data from that project is being submitted to planning and support services. They're keeping that data in GIS, and then eventually CMMS, GIS, all that probably work together, and then we'll have that data captured there as well. So we won't have the issues of lack of as-builts, and we're going back and trying to assess things. We'll have that on file.
There's just a lot of data that the organization produces, right? There's data from our projects, there's data from our financial software, there's data from everywhere in the organization. We've recently kicked off a data. So as that forms a little bit more and we have something a little bit more concrete to bring, we'll bring another item back here to talk to you guys about data and how we're capturing and managing our data. Because there's a lot to data management, right? It could be data, and then you get good data, you get bad data, you get clean data, you get out-of-date data. So there's a lot that goes into how we're capturing and managing our data. And I think we're using data really well to inform our capital program and some of the other things that we're doing. But I think we'll see some increased usage of data in the near future as we sort of develop out this working group.
Yeah, and our district's in a unique position where we're rebuilding the whole district, basically. And I think it's fascinating and to be commended that even our maintenance guys are learning something new and being trained and on how to read computers, work with computers, and oftentimes the older districts that have been sitting there, they don't get that opportunity. They just day-to-day operations. They don't have to learn anything new. So
Yeah, and I could say we've got a really good organization here in that regard. I mean, everyone here is so supportive of learning and growing, and
Yeah.
if you want to grow here, there's opportunities. There's opportunities to grow and learn, and our executive staff is really supportive. HR has been really supportive. The board's been really supportive in terms of supporting growth, and even the way that we develop a lot of our classifications. You look at the flexibly staffed classifications, and the roadmap or the ability for people to grow is here in the organization. And I think the data work group and the data capturing and managing is going to be really helpful in terms of making a lot of the data-driven decisions, which is what Angela's talking about, but telling a story that we want to tell of what we're doing at the organization, which is kind of what you're talking about.
yeah, and learning technology is important.
Sure.
Moving forward. I mean, some of us old folks don't have to learn as much as the younger guys, but I appreciate it, and I don't think it should be overlooked. Yeah. I don't think it should be overlooked. It should be commended.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, well, I don't have any questions because Michael's follow-up kind of answered my questions, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate that.
And we've got one more presentation for you all.
Okay.
So item 4 is to receive an update on the CCTV program, and it's essentially our inspection and assessment program. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
So we have Gordon Times, our collection system operations manager. He's going to give us a brief update on our CCTV program, which is our assessment and inspection program of our gravity, and we're getting into some of our force mains.
Okay, thank you. Morning.
So we'll talk to you about oh yeah, I guess that would help. We'll talk to you about the force mains. Angela went into force mains a little bit, and I'm going to talk more about gravity sewers and how we go about inspecting those with our CCTV program. Okay, so today we're from a high level, we're going to talk about the goals. I'm going to just talk about the background a little bit, have a bit of a discussion, and then I'm going to answer any questions. The presentation is a little short, so if you have questions during the presentation, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, so these are some of the program goals that we have. First of all, the CCTV program, we use it to plan and schedule. We plan and schedule CCTV assessments that enhance our collection system maintenance program. And as you know, the maintenance program basically is the reason why the collection system's operations exist. To actively identify sewer defects, which we're doing all the time. Also identify sewer lines for replacement and rehabilitation, Also to gather visual data to improve maintenance frequencies. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And of course, to protect the health of the environment and the public. No one likes to see creeks affected or beach closures or spills in front of hospitals or schools or anything like that. And also we want to effectively integrate with other programs and technologies. WinCan, which is the CCTV program we use, does integrate with other technologies, other programs that we use to inspect the system. And also engage and inform. Effectively engage and inform internal and external stakeholders. My division PNSS and capital portfolio, we collaborate quite a bit on coming up with pipe replacement goals, pipe replacement projects, and as Angela talked about, prioritizing all of our different projects throughout the agency. So a little bit of the background. As you know, the agency is over 100 years old, and up until recently, we still had pipes in the ground that were over 100 years old. We have about 252 miles of gravity sewer pipes. And next to that is the pipeline life cycle. The two things that we're going to talk about mostly today is operations and operate and maintain, and assessing, condition assessments. But there's also rehabilitate, replace, plan and design, and construct. And then as we replace these pipelines, the life cycle continues. So these are collection system, basically enemies, right? I mean, the challenges that we deal with. Of course, we have roots in pipe that we deal with. We have fat and grease in pipes that gets built up. One of the things that I didn't put up here was the challenges with wipes that we have in the system that you guys are well aware of. We have structural issues that we deal with, and all that, well, especially the structural issues, can cause I&I inflow and infiltration, which you know that if we get too much of that in the system, we end up basically wasting money by treating sewage or treating excessive water that gets in the system with I&I, which we try to eliminate. So the operate and maintain aspect of our plan is we do preventive maintenance. Most of our preventive maintenance, the schedule is between 24 and 48 months per pipeline. That's the cycle that they're on for cleaning and maintenance. But we do have higher frequency maintenance, which we do have some of our lines for various reasons that are on a 12-month frequency. We do also have some that are called hotspots or high frequency lines that are 1 to 3 months or 6 months. And it's also predictive maintenance. We use data analysis. As you know, we have our level monitors throughout the system. We have 17 of them. And one of the things that they do, they're constantly collecting data by measuring the amount of water that's in the system in that particular manhole. And you know, you can go to the website and they have graphs and stuff like that. And so with that, especially during rain events, we know that certain pipelines we need to go out and inspect or do some maintenance on before we get heavy rains. And also by weather patterns, you know, once we hear the word atmospheric river, we kind of freak out, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's different things that we do as a group when we know that we're going to get a lot of rain to go out and we make sure that we have our emergency response equipment ready to go, and make sure that we go and check these have a higher chance of overflowing. We physically, you know, just go around and just open up manholes throughout the whole agency to make sure that they're not backing up before we get these certain storms. And then there's corrective maintenance, which was spot repairs, which are, you know, not replacing an entire line, but just a point repair, you know, maybe 3 or 4 feet or whatever. And then there's invert and channel repairs, they need to be maintained too. Inside the manholes, all those systems need to be maintained on a regular basis. And so these are the primary maintenance tools that we use. On the top right there, there's rotting machines. We have 2 deployed. The rotting machine basically is it's a huge rotor-rooter machine basically. It uses a 3/8 inch rod that's 1,600 feet long, and we use it. We could put various tools on it to clear roots and heavy grease, and it's very good for reaching hard to reach areas on easements and stuff like that. That's primarily what rotting machines are used for. And then there's hydrojetting and vacuum combos. Hydrojetting machines, they use high pressure water, and typically they're used in the lowland areas where the terrain is flat, and grease and debris has the ability to build up. The hydrojetting machine is very good very effective at maintaining those type of pipelines. And then here, this is our primary assessment tool, which is the CCTV truck. And as you know, it's used to inspect sewer pipelines all over the agency to check to see, for defects and whatever else is going on in the system. So current maintenance and assessment statistics over the last 5 years. We averaged 1.5 million feet of cleaning sewers. We also averaged 180,000 feet of CCTV inspecting. And then we averaged about 12 spills per year. And so the question is, how can we further decrease the risk of backups and overflows in our collection system? And essentially, we want to aim for a higher efficiency. We're going to do that by, 1, stop cleaning clean pipes. And what I mean by that is historically, pipelines were put on an annual cleaning schedule, and then we got data, started using data to inform us that some of the pipelines didn't need to be cleaned that often, so the frequency we extended it out up to 4 years in some situations. And so we want to continue to research and find out which pipelines. Some of our pipelines won't need to be cleaned for ages. We have pipelines that are in certain neighborhoods on 8-inch diameter that are fairly new. Some of them, have recently been replaced, and they have the slope and they have the what they need for the sewage just to flow without backing up. And in those particular pipelines, we just go out and inspect those, maybe like every 5 years or something like that. We can stay on top of those. And then we want to increase pipeline visibility. How do we do that? We CCTV more, right? We also want to reduce unnecessary pipe degradation. I think I said that right. With the sewer rotting machine, it uses that steel rod, and over a period of time, with that rod bouncing off that clay pipe, it has the ability to damage it. So that the less we're using, that machine in particular, the better off we'll be. And also, we want to resource reallocation and conservation, right? When it comes to both rotting and hydrojetting. Hydrojetting uses water, right? So typically what our crews do is they get their first fill up in the morning at the plant using the grade 3 water, the recycled water. And so that helps us, save the resource of fresh water, right? And but if we switched our strategy, right, and let me go back a couple. If we switched our strategy and had the average of cleaning go down to say maybe $1 million instead of 1.5 million, and the CCTV average go up, I would like to see that double over the short term, if possible. Then we're doing more assessment. We have the ability to actually see what's going on inside the pipeline, because with regular maintenance, with rodding and hydrojetting, you don't have that ability. One example I can use is the spill that we had at Hilltop Lake, probably about 6 months ago. Our investigation, we found out that the pipe had been cleaned using a jetter the month before. So if we had the ability to see more of our pipes sooner, we would have caught that overflow. And what ended up happening is on a 12-inch line, we hydrojetted it, and when we CCTV'd it, one joint had a huge root in it that the jetter didn't clear. If we would know it had a huge root in it, we would have rotted it, right, to break up the roots. But like I said, having that ability to CCTV more and put more focus and more resources on CCTVing will eliminate some of these spills. Over. And so the program next steps is decrease unnecessary line cleaning, like I explained before, increase pipeline inspections, right? More CCTVing. That's one of the things that we really need to do. Reevaluate program goals and resources. We take a look at the whole program, see what we need. We know that we need another CCTV van. That's going to be an ask on at the next board meeting. Also procure resources and provide training. One of the resources is the CCTV van, and continuously improve the program. We want to constantly be looking at what's technology-wise in the pipeline, what we can use to improve our program. We do know that AI is becoming a big thing everywhere, right? And collection system maintenance is one of those things where AI has the ability to rate pipelines as they're being CCTV'd, right, which would speed up the process. So that's another thing that we're going to look at as well, along with anything else that comes down the pipe. So with that, I will take any questions.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Great. Thanks, Gordon, for the presentation. Gordon just mentioned AI at the end of his presentation, and we have an internal work group that's figuring out AI and how the organization is going to use AI and vetting it and those sort of things, which I think will come up with some standards around how we do that stuff. What Gordon is really talking about in this presentation significantly, and I just want to make sure that we capture that idea, is a more strategic approach to doing the work of maintaining our sewers than we previously used. I know when I got here about 10 years ago, they were still using potable water primarily to clean sewers. And that was an initiative that between CSO and our plant staff, they figured out how to make our equipment work. And they had to do some modifications, I think, to filtering and that sort of thing to make our equipment work with the recycled water from the plant in order to not use as much potable water in cleaning our sewers. So it's things like that that are sort of the beginning of these types of ideas that we're talking about now in terms of not polishing pipe, right? Cleaning the pipe that needs to be cleaned and going through and inspecting a lot of pipes so that we know that our cleaning is more effective. We're getting the cleaning where it needs to happen at and not just doing what we've done in the past. So thank you, Gordon.
Okay, thank you. President Rentila, questions, comments?
Yeah, knowing that we have 250 miles of gravity sewer lines, I was still curious as to how are these projects flagged when you're starting here and you've got 3 years worth of work to get to here? How are these issues being flagged? I mean, do you have to look for, we started cleaning these pipes back 3 years ago, we have to go back and reverse, or is there a data program that
Yeah.
throws up a flag? Or?
But once the sewer, when the sewers are being cleaned, the operator observes the water that's being drawn by the hydro, or the rotter will have will have debris or roots on it or something like that. And once we get that data, it allows us to know that we need to increase the frequency of cleaning of it or whatever, right? And so every single pipeline is on a cleaning schedule, but some of them they don't get clean, within 4 years. So some of them, maybe 10% of the pipelines are on a 4-year schedule. And, and then we have maybe another 50 or 60% that are on an annual schedule, right? And so every single pipeline that, 252 miles of pipe is not getting touched every year, right? And so, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can't clean it all in one
We
year.
can't. No, we have to prioritize it.
Exactly.
We have to prioritize
I
it.
was just curious how you prioritize things.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I did push when we got our new program, which we started using last October, was I wanted to make sure that we at least looked in every single manhole at least every 2 years, right? Even the ones that are on the higher frequency, that we at least go out and take a look at them, to make sure that they're not overflowing. A lot of them are larger lines, and we had a contractor, CCTV, and most of our trunk lines here, I think in 2021, and we didn't have any major defects or anything like that, and so we're on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, the issues that I see primarily with the city of Richmond too is that once a person like yourself or Mr. Savannah leaves, the institutional knowledge leaves with them. And so there are no flags thrown up for maintenance.
Yeah, well, our program, our CMMS program, CityWorks, it automatically generates work orders every month. So those work orders that are on that monthly schedule, or that whatever schedule they're on, it automatically generates those work order every month. So it doesn't matter if I'm here or he's here. It's gonna, that system is gonna continue, and whoever is here operating it it'll be there running.
As great as AI is, you're still going to need the human element. That's my point.
Definitely, you're right.
And then also, I was just curious, do we use any eco-friendly chemicals for grease or anything like that? Are we allowed to?
There are some out there that are that you can use. It's something that we're exploring right now. We currently don't use any chemicals to kill grease and stuff like that.
And then have we experienced anything like electrolysis, like when you make two different metals together, they can actually weld themselves together, like galvanized and stainless?
Yeah, the only steel pipelines that we have are the force mains, right? So most of our pipes are either some type of plastic or clay, right? And so That's something that we don't experience.
Okay, good. Well, thank you.
All right.
Well, I always marvel at these presentations and all the stuff that we're doing. I just want to commend you guys for the work you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Keep up the good work,
Okay.
and thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Gordon. Thanks to all of the staff that presented today.